Hey y'all, hey y'all. Y'all know I'll be late. If you are listening to this, go ahead and hit the share button. It's your girl, Astonish Your Figure, back at it again. And I hope everybody is doing amazing on tonight. I hope everybody is loving on the people that love on them. And y'all see that I have a special guest on tonight. And we were silly backstage as we always are, but this is key moments, and we are talking about the cause and the effect of trauma. I had to bring her on. We've been friends since preschool. When she does come on, she's going to give a little description of herself. But yeah, again, if you are listening to this, go ahead and hit that share button for your home skillet. I sure would appreciate it. Give me 1 second, y'all. And then I'm going to bring on my lovely, lovely, lovely friend and also our special guest today. But if you are listening to this, go ahead and hit that share button. All right. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Okay, so we got volume and everything. And like I told y'all, we was being silly. But now it's time for us to stay focused. So tonight is again about cause and effect, and I'm not gonna say no more. I want key moments to go ahead and introduce herself and her background and all that other fun stuff. So the show is on you, boo.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for having me. First off, I want to say I love you so much. I am honored to be on your platform. And this is something that has been going on for multiple generations that is usually suppressed and never talked about. So
Absolutely.
the fact that you are wanting to bring this to the forefront is amazing. And I'm happy to be a part of it. And a little bit about me. I'm my own psychologist. I do have certifications in registered behavior technician. I'm currently seeking my psychology license with behavioral counsel as well. I am an entrepreneur. I have my own home health agency and staffing agency as well. I
Absolutely.
constantly try to innovate myself. So now I've transitioned to being a business developer. So if you need my help, I'm your girl.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Um, So, in regards to our topic, and like Key said, it's generational, right? It's generational. Our grandmas and our granddads and all of our good folks has went through trauma, and that's what we're experiencing also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the funny thing about it is we experience it not knowing that we're living through it and
Yeah.
to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once again, if you are listening to this, go ahead and hit that share button. But we're gonna jump right into it. I got the first question for her, and I'll be asking her questions. Because you know, trauma, like we said, trauma is something that we all go through, and we just don't know what it is. We can't identify it. We don't know how it looks. We don't know, where it's stemming from. Where did we get this from? So our first question for Miss Key is, what does trauma look like?
So, stemming from a child to adolescent to adult, symptoms can vary. What I've learned as with not my knowledge of me learning as being a registered behavior technician, but also as a
Mm-hmm.
mother,
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. You better
it's
keep it personal.
yeah. So it starts with affection, that
Okay.
skin to skin, as far as with you developing confidence within your baby. Now, and I do this because I've done research on kids that have had affection and kids that have not had it. So, kids that
Right.
have affection, they're more so confident. Their developmental skills are intact. Their social skills are intact, and they're more so they have empathy towards other children, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now versus the children that kind of does not have affection,
Right.
they're not as advanced as other children. They're not as social. Those are the children that are prone to being bullies or
Yeah.
just not possessing a joyful, innocent spirit that a kid does. And
Aggressive,
then,
just aggressive kids, very aggressive,
exactly,
right? Okay.
exactly. So then when they transition into preteen stages,
Mm-hmm.
they're, and you know what's crazy, because right now in these days of time, they have promoted and made it so normalized of this whole emo movement. And the emo movement is more so recognizing and acknowledging, which they don't know that they're doing, is that the fact that you're emotionless,
Yep.
because that's what emo stands for.
Yep.
But the fact that you are emotionless is because of suppressed trauma.
Mm.
And that trauma came because of lack of affection. And affection comes in many different ways. It don't
Right.
have to be hugging and kissing all the time. It doesn't have to be, oh, I love you or whatever. It's just more so praising.
Right.
Praising, or, just giving someone the confidence or courage to believe in themselves. So if you don't have that as a child, and then now you're transitioning into a preteen,
Mm-hmm.
you're more so not believing in yourself. You
Yep.
say you want to do something, you join sports and you don't try to stand out, or you quit or whatever, or your grades is not good and you're comfortable with mediocre stuff,
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
And then now we're talking about going into adulthood.
Right.
So now once you go into adulthood, all of those habits that you have performed for so long has
Mm-hmm.
turned into your way of living.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
now that also, in your mind, you're thinking this works for me. So now whoever comes into my life, it should work for them.
Yes. Yes.
So that's when you start having failed relationships with
Yep. There you
people who
go.
don't know how to communicate, non-affectionate,
Yep.
um, deflective,
Yep.
or a lack of empathy, or the new phrase that's so big right now, gaslighting, you know,
Gaslighting or narcissistic,
narcissistic,
narcissistic. And that
yeah,
goes that goes with love too, right? Like how
yeah,
people identify love. You know,
absolutely.
when you are traumatized, you're not even willing to um compromise or even look towards or work towards loving that person the way they identify love as. Is
Yeah,
that right?
because that's their normalcy.
Yeah.
So something that becomes normal to someone, anything that you're presenting to them that's different, that's a lack of understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when they go into defensive mode,
Mm-hmm.
because not only is it challenging, but it's an unfamiliar thing that's happening. So it's
Yeah.
something that's unfamiliar, that's basically stem from trauma based. They're going to try to avoid it, and kind of make you look like that you're the one that's doing something wrong. Now, see, here's the thing: that person that may try to show this person a different kind of normalcy, that,
Mm-hmm.
that has not been affected from trauma or may even healed from it,
Right.
they too will start experiencing trauma
And
from that person. So it's
how
like,
contradicting is that? Like how
right, like, so
so you mean
so
I gotta
now,
re-traumatize myself to help you
and
face
then
your
guess what that
trauma?
does? That's Guess what that does?
Hmm.
That now possesses triggers within you that you thought that you were healed from.
Right. You didn't know you had. You was like, oh, I thought I was done with from my last relationship and me trusting people more. I find out that I'm still suffering from the lack of trust or trust in somebody.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
So now what you're faced with is, am I doing something right or am I doing something wrong? I had all intentions to do right, but now it's not working, so I feel like it's wrong now.
Yes, yes.
Crazy, crazy. Okay,
So
yeah.
now that we're on that, speak about secondary trauma. Since we have already discussed the fact that we are re-traumatizing ourselves to try to help
Mm-hmm.
somebody that we love, and want to see the best for, but still
Right.
putting ourselves in kind of a dangerous space.
Yeah. So secondary trauma is usually what stems with generational trauma,
Yes.
and it's not directly exposed,
Yep. Yep.
but in certain traumatic experiences and events, you can be indirectly exposed to it.
Bingo. Say that. Say
Right?
that one more
Right.
time for the folks in the back.
So, um, in certain events and certain circumstances, you can be indirectly exposed to secondary trauma.
Like I didn't sign up for, like, you know, why
Yeah,
am I affected by this? And I
yeah.
went for one way, and then I'm bringing out all this other stuff, and now I'm like, it's too much.
And see, and the crazy thing about it is, it doesn't have to be family. It doesn't have to be relationships. It can be your career. It could be
Mm,
what you're just dealing with on a regular basis with your community, like healthcare providers and therapists and social workers and emergency responders. They're dealing with other people's trauma on a regular basis, to
regular.
where, like, I've even seen police officers that constantly are dealing with, you know, situations that they have to in, implement themselves into, and they're one day they just wake up and they're like, oh, this is just too much. I'm not who I used to be. This is just too much. And it's not nothing that is directly to them. It's an
Yeah.
indirectly exposure.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now you're faced with that secondary trauma that's been placed on you.
And like he said, a lot of people that work hands on with individuals, human services, social workers, firefighters, police officers, we are exposed to secondary trauma, and we don't, this, and you were right, it creeps up on you. You be like,
Yeah.
oh, like, you go home to your family, and then you realize what you saw, if you're a first responder, where you pulled up to a scene and it was bad, or if you're listening to a woman that has been brutally abused in a domestic violence relationship, or if
Right.
you're watching an elderly pass away, but you're still trying to be her comfort. Those are all secondary traumas that really play a huge role. And if we don't know it's such a huge role until it
Yep.
happens, and we're like, wait a minute now, I'm supposed to be a social worker or a healthcare provider or a fire. I'm supposed to be why is this affecting me like this?
So with it, and you know what's crazy, you may not even know how it shows up, and
Right.
it shows up in multiple different aspects, such as emotional symptoms,
Mm,
right? um Physical symptoms. You're wondering why is your blood pressure so high, or why you're so angry or lashing out, why you have a
mm-hmm.
stroke all of a sudden. That comes from that secondary trauma that you've been indirectly exposed to.
Exposed to, or you not facing it, not acknowledging it. Like, I know I may not feel it right now, but I know it's some trauma up in here. So
Exactly.
taking that time. So before I jump the gun, tell us what, I mean, I know you gave us a grasp, but tell us what it looks like, trauma looks like to an individual, or they can like identify, like, am I, what's going on with my body?
So with this particular question, it can be so many different answers because two things could be true at once, right? So
Yes. I just
in
read
my
that
mind,
somewhere.
in my mind, in my mind, I'm just going to sum it up to one word, which is tension.
Tension.
And tension comes in many different ways because in your body, you have tension. And
Yes.
tension only comes from what's a stress factor.
A stress factor. And where does stress stem from? Why are you stressed? Are you using the word stress?
Suppressed trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time, you're not going to talk about what's traumatizing you. You're going to hold it in, and then it develops into stress,
Yeah.
which is going to eventually affect your physical appearance. How many times have you seen a beautiful woman
Mm-hmm.
in her younger years and she has dealt with multiple men that has just dragged her through the mud,
Through the
right?
mud. Yeah.
And then
Mm-hmm.
you see her later on and you're like, ooh, she ain't got no weight on her. You know, she got bags under her eyes. Her
Yeah.
hair
She's
done
not
fell
looking
out.
herself.
Yeah, like, and most people would think, ooh, she just fell off. No, 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 no. She lost herself in that trauma.
Yes. Yes.
So it takes a toll on the physical aspect of you.
And when you do talk about that, you my eyes got big when you said tension,
Yeah,
because you are absolutely right. That is the only, and that's a universal word. People know what tension is. They know
absolutely.
it's a strenuous thing on your body or
Right.
somewhere. It's strenuous. So when we get stressed out, we are doubting somewhere at some particular time, which also is a trauma that's been passed on. So who doubted what? How were you raised? Did you see your mom doubting things? Do you realize that due to the fact that your dad wasn't around, is that making you doubt yourself? Like, what is causing stress? Why do you feel like you have to be stressed at this particular time when you know for a fact, if you think about it, you got it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is the funny thing of how tension is basically the word that I choose to use
That was
with
awesome.
with with trauma.
Yeah.
So in correlation, when something hurts in your body,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And you're like, "Ooh, I'm so tight. Everything is just so tight. I need to go get
Right.
me a massage."
Right.
And the masseuse is telling you this particular area, you're so tensed right here, right? You're so
Mhm.
tense. You need to stretch more. You need to do this. You need to basically work it out.
Yeah.
You need to work this
Work it,
area out,
girl. If you don't say
right?
something, if you don't say something,
So
that
from a physical and lymphatic system
yes.
in your body, you need to work this out to reduce this pain, which eventually goes back to the trauma that's inside of you, which is hurting you
Yep.
and is causing pain. And not only is it causing pain, but you're afflicting pain.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
And I always say that your body always speaks to you before your mind does, because your
absolutely.
mind is gonna say, "You got, come on, you,"
Yeah,
but your body's like, "It's too
yeah,
much tension here. We got to focus on this trauma that we're holding in our limbs,
absolutely.
um, in our limbs."
Absolutely. Because that you there's nothing that you receive that does not go anywhere. If that makes sense.
That does. That means that something has to stand or land on solid ground. Something has to
Exactly.
land. Everything that you obtain on a daily basis, it has to land.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're not talking about it, if you're not expressing it, if you're not getting it out one way or the other, it's being inside of your body and
Yep.
now you got a leg that got a Charlie horse every day.
Right. You like, I know I stretched this morning
Right?
and it's still
Like,
crazy.
yeah,
Like, why
like,
am I doing this?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so again, like you said, trauma is tension.
Extension.
It's tension. So what
Mhm.
are some things that actually cause trauma? What are some things? I know we spoke about it, but you know.
Language,
Mm-hmm.
not being validated, not being recognized,
Yep.
um, a way to where if you're trying to become something, having whatever that you're trying to express being shut down. And most of the time, these are the things that happen within childhood.
Yep. Yep.
So by the time that you get to an adult, you're used to people shutting down idea or not receiving what you're saying or deflecting on what you're trying to express to the point to where you're like, that's life. That's life. You know, people
That's,
have made trauma become so normal
there you
that
go.
they're understanding that whatever you're dealing with now is still what you have not dealt with as a child. So you have to go to the root of it.
Yep. And
And
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go, go.
my apologies.
Yeah, no,
So,
no, no, because you know we one in the same. We like our brains is like boom, boom, boom,
oh
boom,
yeah,
boom.
people. For what you didn't know, our birthday is on the same day.
Same day.
So, so the thing is, when you're when you're unacknowledged, that is actually a universal love language as well, because that
Yes.
everybody wants to feel important in some kind of way.
Yep.
And for those who don't feel important, those are the most traumatized that likes to inflict pain, right?
Yes. Yes.
So when you decide to normalize I'm just existing, you're causing more trauma to yourself every day.
Every
Because
day.
now you're accepting whatever behavior comes to you. So not only are you traumatized, but you're constantly allowing more trauma to happen.
And not actually dealing with the root of the trauma. And then Key, you said that, you know, now you're dealing with that trauma, but don't forget the trauma that was passed on to you as well. So
Absolutely.
now you have, I always talk about the epigenetics, and how our ancestors pass us down things that they're not quite proud of, but we still have to deal with them. So when we deal with epigenetics, so now you're changing that strand, that DNA strand, and to your passing it on to your other individuals as well. A lot of the times when we want to focus on things, we should focus on the root of it. Exactly what is causing this trauma. Like he said, your childhood also, the language that you use, your environment, everybody wants to be accepted. Everybody needs that. Rejection, I always say, like, biologically, the way our brains work biologically. You ready?
Mhm.
Biologically, oop, hold on, yeah. Biologically, we have to process rejection as if you got punched in the face.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what
Yeah.
rejection is, as if you
Yeah.
got punched in the face. So just imagine your parents first, them the first loves that you have. Like
Yeah.
when you first come out the womb, your first
Yeah.
love is your mother. So if
Yeah.
your mother rejects you
Yeah.
at at that time, you are, I, I want to give y'all a visual. She's literally punching the baby. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? It hurts.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
hurts.
Yes.
So now
Yes.
you get, like he said, you are numb to that pain, and that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not right. Go ahead.
And what people don't understand is when you go through trauma, not only does it affect physical appearance, not only does it cause tension within inside of your body and outside in others, but it also can cause memory blockage.
Mm,
So when you experience something that's so traumatic,
there you
your
go.
brain is fighting for you to forget that this happened to you so you
Yep.
can go through life trying to be as normal as possible.
Yep.
But now you're fighting you versus you.
There you go. We know
And
that fight too well, don't we?
yeah, right. Like we're constantly going through life every day, and the only thing that you keep saying is keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. But
That's your mind.
that keep pushing quote is constantly telling you to keep pushing your trauma to the back.
Yep. Ooh, that keep
Right?
pushing quote is what?
It's pushing the trauma to the back.
Wow. How many times have we scrolled through Facebook like I'm keep pushing, I'm gonna keep going?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Um,
and then here's the thing with people and facing trauma and trying to address it head on to release that tension, right? The main source is addressing the root of the problem. And 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, as we
10
just
times
said,
out of 10.
the memory blockage is there from the trauma. So, how can you possibly go back to something that you tried to block out?
Yeah.
That's where the the tragedy of healing begins. Because now you got to face that trauma.
And I
Now
think
what
that's
you
the
got to say.
hardest thing that, and it's not going to happen overnight. It
It's
takes
not.
years because you have to remember when you are first traumatized. So if you was traumatized as a 1 year old, like
Yeah.
you are not developing like you're supposed to. So you may be
Mm-hmm.
16, but your brain is 11.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
how can you act like a 15-year-old if you're still functioning at the age of 11? And
Absolutely.
parents don't understand that, teachers don't understand that, a lot of people don't, because act like you're 15, but you don't know what that 15-year-old has been through and why he's functioning or developing at 11-year-old age.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, to the next question of what can you do to help yourself? First of all, what most people don't do, they don't give themselves grace.
Yes, give yourself grace.
You
Let
have
me write
to
that down because
because
I'm always writing stuff down. Every time I talk to her, I'm always writing stuff down. I'm like, let me get my
yeah.
pen. Let me get my
Yeah.
paper.
So,
Grace.
you know, we that are living the lives that we live on a regular basis, we don't know what we're doing. We
Right,
think we know that we're doing, and we're dealing with
right,
so much stuff that we've already done experienced, right?
right.
And most of the time, even with men, and men more than everybody, um, just keep going, keep pushing, keep pushing,
Yeah.
keep pushing.
Mhm.
You can't feel this, you can't feel this, you can't do that.
Yep,
That's the problem. You need to validate your feelings
yep, yep.
before you want someone to validate them for you. So this is a technique that you can help with yourself with dealing with your trauma. Is first of all recognizing how you felt about that happening to you.
Right, right,
You
right,
have
right.
to figure out at that moment what you have to dig deep and go back, and it's such an ugly beautiful process.
It's
You
ugly
have to,
and beautiful.
yeah, it's like a beautiful tragedy. You have
Yeah.
to figure out the root of the problem. Once
Hmm.
you get to the root of the problem, you can now start to tell yourself, I didn't do this to me. This was done to me.
Yeah,
So now my feelings are valid.
yeah.
And once you start to validate your own feelings, you're gaining peace because you're not
And power.
seeking power and peace, because you're
Yes.
not seeking validation from others. Now, there's a caveat. There's a caveat with helping yourself with trauma.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Once you start healing to outsiders, it's
Yes.
going to look like you're being brand new.
Uh huh.
or
Say
you
it
acting
again.
funny,
When you are healing, what it look like to outsiders?
that you're being brand new. And the
Mm.
funny thing about it is, you are.
Right, right. And the funny thing is, girl, I am.
You
I
are. You
am.
you are doing the unbecoming of the old you.
Unbecoming. Yeah.
So now you are a brand new person because you have a brand new pair of lenses. You
Yes.
got a
Yes.
brand new pair of pupils to where you see things differently. And those same people that are probably feeling like that you're acting brand new because you're helping yourself deal with trauma,
You better
they're
say it.
only became in your life because they're trauma bonded with you.
Right. And that's a reality that you both have to identify with
Yeah,
and
yeah.
realize that maybe we are together because we are trauma bonded and this is not actually what we think it is.
Mm, mm, no,
So
no.
when before we got to this live, I always listen to the guru. I don't know if y'all know him. He's a spiritual man. He's from India. He's amazing. He
Okay,
makes you think outside of what everybody else has to say.
okay.
So he was saying something, and then something came. It says, "Stop depending on others for your happiness, and stop blaming others for your suffering."
This is true.
So I put that to say you can't give people that responsibility to make you happy, and you can't stay in that space because you think that person is the reason why you're suffering, if that
This is
makes
true.
sense.
This
You
is true.
cannot hold them that much
Yeah.
in control over your life to say, "Oh, I'm suffering because of this." Yeah, they had an influence in it. Yes, they did. Now, don't get me wrong on that. But to continue to suffer, that's a choice of yours, especially when you can identify it from the first part. Now, if you don't know, then you just don't know. That's just, you can't do nothing about that. But the exact same way that you don't want to put that much control for somebody to have or happiness over you is the same way you don't give that person much power to bring you suffering. Is that,
Mm-hmm.
did
Mm-hmm.
that make,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah. So basically, and this is what I go by, myself,
Hmm.
because I too, as a woman, you will look for someone to make you happy, not
Yeah.
understanding the fact that my old me, before I did the unbecoming, I
Yeah.
realized that
That's
I
that's
was.
about to be a book, y'all, too, by the way, The Unbecoming. I'm just letting y'all know. Whatever. Go
the
ahead.
um the the responsible me now, and I'm not talking about responsible as far as household and bills. I'm talking
Right.
about responsible of my life now,
You,
responsible of me and my own happiness.
yeah. Woo.
I am responsible for my contribution to my energy.
Say that again.
I am responsible to my contribution to my energy.
Yes. Mm,
See, I don't, when we're looking for others to validate our happiness or validate fitness or give us happiness,
yeah.
we're looking for sponsors. And
Okay.
everybody ain't got no money to sponsor.
Ain't nobody ain't got no, people ain't got no money. They broke. They always saying they broke, right? I'm broke. I'm broke.
So how can they be a sponsor to something?
Right.
Right? So
What can they give? They don't have anything to give
no, no, no.
themselves.
Mm-mm. There's no charitable contribution. There's no nothing. Most what people can give is I'm gonna pray for you.
And you got to watch that too, because you don't
And
want
you gotta
everybody praying over you.
and you gotta watch it. So what I what I decided to tell myself is I'm going to be my own contributor to my energy. So
Mhm.
every day I get up and I contribute to the energy that I need to have.
Yeah.
So that helps me deal with my past trauma because now I'm the one that's validating what I went through, how I got through it.
Yes. And you're also setting the tone of the energies that you want to come forth to you. Because if you
Absolutely.
set that tone for your energy, everybody's going to feel it around you. And they're going to be like,
Absolutely.
we're not about to come to her with no BS right
No,
now.
you can't.
Like, or we need to talk to, they'll feel that energy. You are being in control, not only yourself, but your energy around you, and you are delegating which energies are allowed because they
Absolutely.
can't come if you already
Hmm.
set that stage.
Absolutely. So, in hindsight, one of the major things that you can do to help yourself with trauma is creating your own boundaries.
Yes.
Boundaries
Boundaries.
is so important because once you decide to create a boundary, that means that you done gain confidence in yourself.
Yes.
That means you done recognize your self worth. That
Yes.
means that you know who you are or who you're becoming.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So boundaries are so important with self healing.
Self-healing, and also not, again, not allowing old individuals to come into your presence, because again, I'm not that old person anymore. um
Absolutely.
and you can't even, my boundaries are up, my healthy boundaries are up, that you don't even want to come close to me, because again, like you said, I know myself, I know my worth, I know who I am, I'm dealing with my trauma, and I'm accepting my trauma, I'm accepting the
Hmm.
fact that my daddy wasn't around or my mom wasn't around, I'm accepting the fact that my grandma wasn't always there or what have you. I'm accepting that, and I'm okay with that. And people
Hmm.
people want you to beef with yourself, and you like, I don't got no beef
Yeah.
with myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And on another note, before you can actually start healing
Mm-hmm,
through your trauma, no. Let me say this differently. Once you start healing through your trauma
mm-hmm.
and you have these new pair of eyes or lenses or whatever you may call it, you also have a new perspective. So sometimes the person that may have inflicted trauma on you or
There you
whatever,
go.
you can now see maybe they was traumatized. Maybe
Yes.
this is secondary trauma that they're experiencing and they're inflicting on me. Maybe they just this and then that makes the anger subside.
Yes, it
So
does. It gives it a understanding, because it got to make sense. Make it make sense
you have
now.
to make it make sense. It
Make
has
sense.
to. Yeah. So now you're gaining a different kind of interpretation and perspective on how you can see things now.
Yes.
And it doesn't really take away the pain that you felt, but
Right.
you have a little more understanding on why it was caused on you in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's priceless.
And then you can make
Yeah.
that, as I tell my niece, you can make that executive decision on if you
Mhm.
want that person present, or if you are willing to work through their trauma, because it looks familiar, and this is what you're committed to or dedicated to. But
Absolutely.
you there people not walking around like, yeah, I got trauma, my daddy wasn't here, my mom wasn't here, we
Yeah.
was always broken, we heated the house with a stove.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, and I had to watch
Mhm.
my brothers while my mama went out. Like, people are not walking around with that on their forehead. So
Yeah.
it's hard for us to get an understanding. But if we understand ourselves, it's going to come natural of identifying that with others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Once you start to get an understanding of yourself, it it allows you to have new judgment on you, but a different judgment on others.
Yes, yes, yes. A different judgment on others. Because we us women, we be like, why you do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
told you to pick up the babies and then,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
you didn't know that that man was probably going through some things in his mind. You don't know what
Absolutely.
that man saw on the way or had to
This is
deal with
true.
during the day that kind of trigger him. And now he traumatized, and you like, what's
Yeah.
wrong with you?
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
don't even know what's wrong with him.
Right. 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 So trauma happens internal and external.
Mm,
That's just like if you're driving down the street and you're dealing with somebody that has road rage, right?
there you go.
And
Uh-huh.
and they flick you off, or they're mad and they want to fight, and
Yeah.
you've never been in that experience before, but now you're traumatized because this person is attacking you just because of something. But if you have that certain kind of perspective, you
Mm-hmm.
can see, oh, this person experienced something right before they got on the road. Something happened to them in the midst of them
They got in
driving
that room.
to me. And then now you have to give yourself a certain kind of discernment to, so you won't react in the same way that may also traumatize yourself as well. But guess what? You go home and you don't talk about what just happened to you,
There you go.
and then now you're suppressing it, and it's going to come out in the physical appearance because
Yep.
now you're aggressive to your kids, you're aggressive to your mate, and they're like, what's wrong, and they're like, and you basically not saying anything. That's another physical appearance of trauma.
And sorry that my baby coming out. Y'all know I.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
listen,
definitely.
I want to get back to the scenery, and then we're going to be done because me and her, we can talk all night. Like we can talk literally for hours and hours, but we won't do you guys like that. But the scene that she said when you were in when it's road rage, and then you've never been in that experience. But what about the other people that have seen that road rage? Now they're traumatized as well. Now it may not affect them that much because they 9 times out of 10 they call and they like, girl, you see what happened to them people? Just they're calling and
Hmm.
getting it off of them. Unconsciously they're doing it, so they're
Yeah.
not having it on them because we automatic, we like when some crazy stuff happen, when some drama happen, we calling somebody, so we're unconsciously getting that off of us and we don't even know. But when the traumatic
But that's still
experience happens,
secondary trauma.
it's still secondary trauma.
Yeah.
It's still secondary trauma, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So
So
this was
again,
awesome.
yes, it was. And trauma again is one of those things that we want to make sure that we understand and overstand. And is it going to happen tomorrow? Is these changes going to happen? No, no, it won't. Is it going to happen in the next year? No, it probably won't. It takes a while for these things to change your perspective. Because again, like I always say, changing your perspective will change your life.
Mm-hmm.
Please get a
Mm-hmm.
different perspective on
Mm-hmm.
things and understanding and all of that fun stuff. But tell them how they can find you, Key.
Well, you can find me on Facebook as Key Stewart. You can find me on Instagram as Ambitious Key 34. You can find me on Snapchat Locking Key 34. I actually have a new book that I just released to the public
Can
a
we
few
put
days
that?
ago.
How can I get that? I need how can
So
is there a link?
So there's a link. There's actually several links. There's an actual course that's linked to the book on Teachable as well, and it's getting ready to be on multiple platforms Monday. So stay tuned.
And I'm gonna post it, so it will be on Astonishing Figures page. I'm gonna go ahead and tag Key into it. But I'm sorry, I was talking. Tell us what this book is about.
So this book is a step-by-step process on someone who's ready to start their own home health agency. It gives you information from beginning to end to be fully operational, and it also gives you resources to receive grants and other awards and whatever else that you're trying to get through as far as government contracting, several different loans that you can receive, startup capital, all the above.
That's the hot topic. Look, can I
Yeah.
get? I'm asking. I get like 5% off, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna get the book.
yeah.
I'm gonna get the book for sure, just
Yeah.
because. it's a good read and it's resourceful.
Yes.
Like you said, grants, resources, how to from beginning to end. Now
Yeah.
I know like that is I can't wait. I can't wait. And
Yeah.
again, I will have that link on Astonishing Figure page soon as it drops. I'm about to call her on Monday. Like, I need the link. I
Thank
need
you.
the link. I want to thank you so much, my friend, in regards to
Thank
giving us this
you.
information that's going to
Thank
change
you.
our lives. Um, Again, trauma is something that we sweep under the rug, but we are actually, me and Key is going to do a 3-part to this.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be
Mm-hmm.
more things coming about trauma because of the fact me and her was talking and we were saying, you know, it's something called
Yes.
seasonal trauma that we go through when we
Yeah.
smell things and stuff like that. So we're
Yeah.
going to tap more into it. We're going to do it
Yes.
each month. So this month was for October, then November, and then we're going to do the final one for December. But
Mm,
I'm so excited. I'm so
yes,
excited for this
me
book. I'm
too.
so excited for this next one, and I'm so excited to see my beautiful friend's face.
Yes, I'm honored. Thank you so much. The world needs to look out because we're getting ready to basically do a tour.
Yes, yes. And we
Yes,
are
yes,
running the same again,
yeah.
again, y'all. So,
Yes,
it's
yes.
your girl, Astonishing Figure, and I thank you guys. I thank everybody for tuning in. This will be on live stream. This will be on YouTube, and I'm going to attach key moments YouTube. This is going to be on TikTok. And Facebook and Instagram. So you guys have a good night. I hope this information was on point because it was on point for me. Y'all saw me write notes as I always do. So I love you guys. Be safe. Love on the people that love on you. And I will see you guys next Saturday. Peace.